Pat stay, motherfucker.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yo.
What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How you feeling?
Good, thanks. How you been?
I'm good. Feeling good, man. No
You know, it's
complaints.
funny. I just watched your interview with Three Letterman. I think that's the name, right? Right. And not only were you wearing the same hat, but the same wall was behind you, and I believe the hat was tilted the same way. So I feel like I'm just watching it again, and I feel like no, it's the exact same. I was like, I know this.
I'm in the same exact spot.
You haven't moved,
with the same hat. Nah, man, I've been three days straight doing interviews, man. So I got a little station set up now. I got my little buffalo chicken dip and all that. You know, we're good.
I bet you've been doing fucking interviews all day. Ain't that something, man? What's that feeling like, man? Because I know since JC, it probably hasn't been this enormous. You know what I mean? Like, is it? I know you answered it to him and said it wasn't overwhelming, but I don't know if that was a couple of days ago. Like now that you're on probably day whatever it is now, and you're still, hey, we could talk to all these. Just is it overwhelming at all now? You're just like, nah.
Nah, it's really not, man. You know, the only time where it gets overwhelming is where I feel like people are asking the same questions over and over again. You know what I'm saying? But luckily, I think I've picked the platforms that I've done pretty well. I love the interviews that you've done with, Saurus and Shaq and everybody else. Like, you ask really, really dope questions. I just don't like to do a lot of the real battle rappy podcasts where they're just gonna ask, who do I want to battle next?
Right.
You know, kind of like this. I'm sure the stuff you get asked too when you do the interviews also. So
yeah.
I think the interviews I've done so far have been really fun, man. Really dope questions.
Yeah, good, man. All right, well, let me get right to what I really want to ask you, the most interesting shit. Okay,
let's go.
And we'll go to K-Shine too for sure. But I've mentioned this to you before. I've said it on Twitter. I may have said it in other platforms. But I find it the most interesting thing in the world to watch you. I don't think you did it versus K-Shine, but over all these years, when you're battling your opponents, you mouth their punchline sometimes 5 seconds, usually a couple seconds, but sometimes like it's almost as if you have written everything in the world. So most people have so people watching, most rappers have what's called word banks. So like we can somehow, when the rapper's coming at you, you know what the rhyme is going to be. Or if you're freestyling, you can hear a word and you have a word bank, so you freestyle off that. It's easy, right? But I think you have a scheme bank. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's definitely something like that, especially when it comes to like wordplay and stuff. Like I think that's like the biggest difference, because like I can predict it a lot battling other like wordplay heavy battlers. You know what I mean? When I hear certain words that I know associate with a certain thing, I can see from a mile away, what the premise of the punchline is going to be. Like you said, sometimes 5-10 seconds before they even get to it sometimes.
It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And I don't know if some people would even like consider that great, but I'm watching it and I'm like, this guy, it's like somebody will say something and then your head goes, you know where it's going, and then you say it. And it's not a simple rhyme. It's not like went to the party, Bacardi. It's like, yo, it's a full scheme, and it's like it's if you've written that before, because you don't freestyle schemes, so it's like, you know what I mean? No one freestyles like full like those schemes like that. So it's almost as if you've either written something similar with that before, or it's just in your scheme bank. And I think if someone had the time to go through all your battles and make a compilation of those, make a compilation of those, people would understand what a brainiac you are. And I don't know if anyone but me has ever pointed this out, but that's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Thank you, bro. The only other person I've seen that does it as well is Conceited. He his mind, I guess, works in a very similar way. So I've seen him do it a lot too over the years, but but yeah, I haven't really come across anybody that can do it at the level that I do it at. But yeah,
No.
it's turned into like a weird defense mechanism almost. Like people will think because I can, guess what the bar is going to be, that their writing must be predictable, or that their writing must be, and a lot of times it's not it. I'm just so in tune with, where they're going to go with it. But it's turned into like a cool little like defense trick. When I do it, it makes, the listeners and the fans less excited for what they're saying. I'm not sure why, but it has that effect sometimes.
Also, for everyone watching, most battlers, when your opponent's rapping, you're going over your shit. For people that are watching right now that don't know how we work, usually you're going over your shit. So that's even more impressive, because you're like, I don't know if you've got your shit so down that you're not going over it anymore, but like you stand there with your hands behind your back and you're picking it up and then you call it out. And if you wanted, you could be like, blah, 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 and say it out loud, but you still do it in the most like humble yet degrading way. It's just like it's so calm, hands behind. You'll say it, you'll say it, and then you'll do this. It's just like, that was okay.
Yeah, it was cool.
I knew it 10 seconds ago. I scrapped that 10 years ago. I had that scheme. That's why I knew it. That's why I said it. Never. And that's why you never heard it from me, because I scrapped it. It's kind of like something I wouldn't use, but carry on. Ooh,
Right.
ooh, ouch. And I can't imagine being across from someone that would do that to me 10 times. I'd be like, oh my God, did this guy put on a COVID mask or something? Like, he keeps on calling.
Can this guy put on a COVID mask? It's hilarious.
Oh, something. Because I'm like, oh my God, like by the 10th time, I'd be like, oh, well, what am I doing? Like this, I'm gonna have to do a dance at this point, because this guy knows what I'm gonna say. Like that was I'd be thinking like, man, I thought that was my best bar. I thought no one in the world thought of that there. Apparently, Chilla was checking his phone, going over his shit, and fucking said it out loud. Like this, it's really, really, it's crazy to me, man. It's really crazy.
You know what was cool about that? So like, I know like other battlers, like you said, are usually when the other battlers going, you're going over your material. I get to a certain point, like once I get into the battle, I just tell myself I need to remember the first line of every round, how it starts. I try not to even think about what's after it, because I feel like it makes me like second guess, what might be next, or what's next, next up in my material. So I just try to remember the very first bar of every round. And that's also what helps me to rebuttal a lot, is not focusing so much on every single line in every round as I'm waiting for my opponent to stop rapping. It's only focusing on the first bar. And then if I decide to freestyle or rebuttal something, I know as soon as I'm done with the rebuttal where I need to start at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good, man. That's a really good way to think.
Yeah.
Can you, if you are able to,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell us about your writing process, or is that super like, okay, for example, like me, I start by watching my opponent's interviews. I often won't watch all their battles. I try to watch. I pick them apart, like their
Psychologically.
Yes, yeah, and and that's what I do a lot at the first. Is there any? Can you tell us about? And that's just the first or whatever. That's not all I do. But can you tell us about without giving away too much, or is that?
Yeah, no, I can definitely share it with you, bro. I mean, honestly, it depends a lot, Pat, on how I want to attack them. I found that with like B Dot and with K Shine, I wanted to attack a little more psychologically also. So I did that also. I watched a lot of interviews, watch their battles, their body language, their posture, literally everything that I could gather as figuring out how I can use it against them. If I'm wanting to put together a scheme or like a dope, sequence of punchlines, that's kind of a different process. My schemes, I usually will build backwards. So if I think about a theme or a topic that I want to go with, I'll usually always know how it ends before I know how it starts and how I get there. So I think about how I want it to end, much like people do sometimes with like angles and stuff. I'll think about what I kind of want the closure of the scheme to be, and then I just build around it.
Right.
So that's how I put the schemes together. But with like B Dot and K Shine, for whatever reason, I wanted to attack more psychologically, and I wanted just a little more substance, man. Like people know what I can do, like as far as penmanship and wordplay, but I really wanted to dissect them in a way that made people look at them differently, made people see their strengths as weaknesses. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's kind of a newer thing for me that I think I'm learning pretty quickly. But so, you know, in my past 2 battles, it's been really effective, like really effective. So being able to mix that in with the style that I already have, I think makes me super versatile now. And that makes it a little more difficult to predict how I'm going to approach every battle. You know what I mean? So it really just depends, Pat. It depends on what my goal is with my opponent.
Right.
Do I want to break you down? Do I want to dissect you? Is this going to be a rapper's battle? Are we just going to rap? You know what I mean?
Right.
It really just depends. But my process depends on what my agenda is for the opponent.
Right. Yeah, like dissecting people, like it's always good because it's timeless. Like, you know, certain schemes or different, like certain things that we do that become popular might not age well. Most of them do, but breaking down someone's character and then will always, you know, like you'll always be able to watch Lux's third, you know, even if it wasn't as like big as it was or things like that, or even just like you said, making someone's strengths their weaknesses is such a good flip, and I believe that you don't have any weaknesses at this point. I'm just going to be honest with you now, and I think you know this, but the only thing that people would say before was slow delivery, projections not there, and not moving around as much or whatever. But now you've completely knocked all that out, you know, and the confidence. The confidence is through the roof now. I'm not saying that you weren't confident before, because you were. You can just tell by your breath control and everything, and how you're calm. But now you're laughing like a maniac, but in a quiet way. Like who does that? Like, it's like I was like, oh shit! It's just like, and you can barely hear it. It's just like. I'm like, what? It's like Kimbo in the backyard was like, hit me. That's all you got. Everybody hit him. He's like, oh. It's like,
yeah.
So after that round, after he spit that round to you, did you know right then, like, that what it's
yeah. I knew it wasn't enough. Because I knew that, you know, the matrix scheme that I had set up for the first round, I didn't feel like there was anything K-Shine could do to beat it, because I just felt like the thought process behind it and the you know, the way it was put together was just something beyond what he can do. You know what I mean? And everything I tried to do in this battle was A, like I said, turn his strengths into weaknesses, and B, exploit the fact that he doesn't write the way that I write. You know what I mean? Like not just a battle of who can punchline the most, or who can, you know, make sound effects the most, you know, all that default regular shit, but more of like who can put together a beautiful sequence of Matrix references, or who can tie a theme to somebody better. Like just a little more flair, a little more pizzazz than just what I think we get from 98% of battle rap nowadays. You know what I mean? And that was really my biggest goal for K-Shine. So I knew when he was done with his first, because of the Matrix scheme that I had, I knew it wasn't going to be enough for him to win that round. But then the rebuttal, bro, just fell in my lap. Like I saw the opening and I was like, man, you fucked up. You fucked up. You fucked up.
And from then on, well, it was over then, but like, first of all, the risk of the Matrix scheme, some people don't get either. Like, that's a risk to do in that room, because if people, not everyone's gonna catch all of them. You know what I mean? And to like have a big on thing like that, that's so admirable, because most people are like, you know what, I have this really good long scheme or whatever. It's not gonna, it might not hit every single time, but on the playback, whatever, some people will get it, but there's not much playback. So anyways, I respected that. But back to the flip. At that point, when you said that, I was like, oh, there's almost nothing he can do. Like, that's, the whole round is done now, because first of all, he hasn't been hit in a long time, but not that hard. Because rebuttals like are impressive as they are, as it is. Like that wasn't even, was that even a rebuttal? I don't even like, okay, because a rebuttal is like, oh, it's funny you said this, but this. That was a
a freestyle, I guess, yeah.
Same thing, but even more impressive. It was a more impressive rebuttal, because it was an in the moment thing. It's like oh shit, he's taking his hat off. That's extremely hard to do, and to hit that hard. So it was such a moment. Like, I was like, oh my god, man, that was like that. If it was Mortal Kombat, you would have had him doing the
finisher.
You would have had him seriously, like you seriously. And what a great time to do it too, at the first minute, so you can run the shit back. I see when you said in the interview that was smooth, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it too much, but did you see people's reactions? You know what I mean? Like, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's always funny to you stand out when the rest of the room is going crazy, and then you have like a statue or two just standing there, you know. But
that was not supposed to happen, Chilla. That was not.
That wasn't in the script, Pat. That wasn't in the script.
No. The whole thing was not supposed to happen. That was not as planned. So when that happened, it was like, oh shit. It's like, like, you know what I mean? Because if, I'm not saying whatever, but anyways, you know, and
sure.
And but yeah, man, it was electrifying, man. And who can do that in small rooms anyways? Not that small rooms are boring, but I mean, like, to make something that entertaining in a small room, like, I haven't seen that since Tay Rock and Mook. You know what I mean? So
that was a great battle.
I think you and Mook, not to cut you off, sorry. I think you and Mook would actually be better than you and Loader Lux. But if that's what you want, then hey, man, fucking.
Yo, you're the second person today to say that. I'm not mad at that either. You know what I mean? And I think style wise, I think I'm more similar to Mook.
Yeah.
I think I'm more similar to Mook. So I can definitely see how that could be a more appealing matchup on paper. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think for me, Pat, there's a very specific reason. When I was chosen to battle Ice for the chain, there was a blog. It's Ice, it's Loaded Lux, they're outside somewhere. They're having a discussion about their upcoming battles. Ice whispers my name into Lux's ear to tell him that he has me next for the chain. And Lux doesn't speak of me very highly in that moment, in comparison to Ice. Now, obviously, there's some Harlem bias there, but, he kind of gives off this air in the blog that I'm beneath him, that I'm not worthy to stand in front of Ice, and that this isn't even a real battle for him. Like this should be a walkthrough. Ever since then, Lux is a solid, like, he's not coming off my list. If not for anything else, he and I need to have a conversation about that blog.
Oh man,
That's just, you know, it's
you're
just
that guy. This
it's a
kind of ties
personal
in.
thing.
This kind of ties into like your scheme banks and like you remember this shit. You're not gonna fucking
Yeah,
forget this shit. You remember
yeah.
this shit, and yeah, that's
Shit,
pretty dangerous.
shit like that drives me, bro. Shit like that drives me, man. Like everybody has their own, like, we all do this for different reasons, right? Some people do it for the money. Some people do it for the love of the culture. Some people do it for the exposure, for the promotion that maybe they can get. Um, you know, for some people, it's an outlet for the things they're going through in their life. There's a lot of different motivations for people. Um, my motivation and mostly everything in life is about respect. And when I feel that my talent, my effort, my energy, my time that I put into this craft isn't being respected, especially by somebody that at some point that I kind of like look up to,
Mm.
um, it definitely puts a chip on your shoulder. Definitely puts a chip on your shoulder. So yeah, man, you know, that is what drives me. Things like that, situations like that, being in rooms where I know they have a way that they want this battle to play out, and knowing that everybody is expecting a certain outcome and hoping for a certain outcome. That drives me, Pat. Like that puts me in a place where, like, all right, me against the world. Okay. All right.
When when they put me against Tay Rock, well, first of all, yeah, like who does that? Like, oh yeah, your first URL battle, like you don't have to go to anyone yet. Yeah, we'll put you against the face, the top guy on. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you know, put me in the lines. Then they want to make make a statement.
Right.
And when I listen, man, when Tay Rock came out on that when I came out, hey, when Tay Rock came out, it was the craziest thing I've ever heard. Even he talks about it to this day. It was a great, like, they were going nuts, kicking the walls. Like, people were screaming at me, just like, they told me, countless people told me before I battled, I came here to see you die. I'm like, cool, man. Nice to meet you, Pat. it's like whatever, right? Like, they all wanted me to die. So, like,
Right.
and after round one, I was like everything he said, he could have been like everything he said, and it was really great stuff. They were just losing it. I was like, oh man, like, but it didn't discourage me. Like, I knew, like, okay, well, this is my back is against the goal. I barely have a chance here, but it amped me up. So I know
Yeah.
that about having your back, you know what I mean? Like, having everyone against you. And if you're a warrior, then that shit makes you better.
100%. 100%, man. I can't even imagine what that would be like in your URLs, your debut, right? URL debut.
Yeah.
And you draw Tay Rock on a Summer Madness, and then you're in, you know, a different country where they've been dying to see a URL card for
Yeah.
the better part of a decade. I can't imagine, you know, that kind of pressure. That's crazy.
It was
That's
great.
crazy.
It was one of my favorite moments ever in battle rap. But it's just like, and not even to talk about myself, but I guess I was just kind of going off the thing, like, of having knowing that you're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
You're food right here. And if you can fight your way out, then good for you, but good luck. And
Right.
once you do, it's that much more rewarding.
Yeah. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really didn't like a lot of it. You know, I spoke on it, so I don't need to go on it, but I didn't like, you know, how Sue Surf handled it as media. I didn't like the thing. I really didn't like Jay Black, whatever, but he apologized. And I really love Jay Black. He apologized about it. And I didn't think he did that much wrong, but really, it was just, he didn't really do, really, what it was Surf, really. Like, first of all, when he comes up, when Shine comes out, brotherhood, like, that already looks shady. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you're clearly on this guy's side. But anyways, aside, and aside from, you know, I think it kind of works in your favor in a small way. It really does, because the view is like, it's like when you win a battle. How do I put this? Like, yeah, like if the viewers clearly see that everyone wants you to lose and you want, it makes you that much more of a hero. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the things that, you know, you spoke on and you noticed, a lot of other people noticed. You know what I mean? And it, you know, when it's that in your face, when it's that blatant in that, you know, yeah, you know, I think that made a lot of people look at things differently. You know what I mean? Like,
But when I
yeah,
watch, I'm like, look. It's like, look. It's like, yeah, man. So, yeah, but that's so great, man. I was so proud. I'm sure everyone else is so proud, and not in a way like I wanted to see Shine die. And this is what I'll give Shine. Shine's right when he said, he said, like, since I haven't been hitting so long, once I do get hit, it's that much bigger. And that's true. That is true.
yeah,
Now, it's not saying it wasn't worthy of whatever, but like, yeah, when you're invincible for so long, it's like every hit's just like, oh shit, like, oh fuck, like not making it bigger, but so
right.
Shine, like, yeah, Shine had yeah, Shine had some like certain reactions from people that were, you know, like shocked, even though I don't know why they were, but you know, what really surprised me, and it was actually a social experiment for me. Watching him during the battle saying 1-0 or 2-0, I'm like, what? And then he's like, I think he apologized to you. Like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but he's like, sorry, man. I thought that, I don't know what he meant by that, but in how I watched it, it's like, are you apologizing because you're winning so much? And then I was like, what?
Now,
What?
you know what it was, Pat, is he was at certain points, like toward the end of his round sometimes, or even during my round sometimes, he would like walk away and then walk back into the frame, and then like he was moving around so much, I think he felt like he was like doing too much in terms of like the saying 1020, the way he was walking around. He felt like he was being disrespectful and felt like he needed to say sorry. You know what I mean? But I mean,
Shine's a really cool guy. Shine's a really fucking
for
great
sure,
guy.
for sure, absolutely.
He's so cool, and he's so like he's so humble, like in his own way. Like he's everything about, you know, Shine is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's destined for greatness. He's a star. He's a movie star. He's a it's really, it was really great to see. I think that his problem is trying to not do Shine, and a lot of people do
yeah,
that with. You ever see like a battler like come try to joke with me when they don't joke, and then I end up roasting, killing them, and like, don't
yes,
try to adapt to me. Like, don't try to adapt to what I do, because that's what I do, and I
exactly.
do best. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
like, you trying to do what you do in a small room is just, you know what I mean? It's just not, it's not going to work. So I think
Yeah.
like I think that's where he took the fall. But other than that, I still think he did a great job. I just don't think it was and that makes it even crazier though, man, Chilla, because I think he did good Shine, but it just, I don't think, okay, I don't think there was one round that he won. And most people say that. Actually, I don't even know anyone that says one round. But you didn't, when I watched your Three Letter Man interview, you hadn't watched it yet. Have you watched it yet? And if so, do you think 3-0?
Yeah, I watched it today. I do think it was 3-0. Yeah, it's to me, every round is clear on the watch back. Every round is clear to me.
Very clear. Yeah,
Yes.
it was very, very clear. And it was like,
Yes.
But you're just such a humble guy. Like, okay, here's another question. I seen you in the post interview with him, and you were like, yeah, felt really close, and plus your mic, and who knows, man, it could be debatable. At that point, did you think it was really close, or were you just being super Chilla Jones, like just trying to be really nice?
Well, I'll tell you what it was, Pat, was in the room. If you're in the room going off reaction, it was close. In the
Okay.
room, off of reaction. Now if that speaks to maybe the energy in the room and, you know, how maybe certain people wanted the battle to play out. Maybe that's what it speaks to.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head, based off the material we presented, I knew I didn't lose the battle for sure. I knew I won the battle. But the question in my head was, is this a 2-1 or a 3-0? Is this how much did I win? How badly did I win?
Right.
You know what I mean? That was really my question. But we also didn't know in the moment about, you know, how muffled his mic was and, you know, how audible his round was. I didn't know at the moment how much Caffeine really heard of his round. How much did the muffling affect his sound? I had no clue, no idea. Knowing what he said from being in the room with him, I knew even if nobody on Caffeine heard his first round, once they heard it, they still weren't going to give him the round. But, you know, I just, in the moment, you never know. It's so weird battling on Caffeine, bro. It's so different because, right, when you're in the room and there's a big crowd, even if it's a smaller crowd, 150, 200, whatever, you can leave that battle and know if you got killed or not.
Yeah.
I've seen people, like even Arsenal at this event, sitting in the chair with Danny in the post battle recap. You know, talking about it was a great battle, and, you know, he feels like he might have got all 3, and then you read the votes. And he's like, "Man, y'all had me getting 3-0'd?" Like imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many times, Pat, have you left a battle with a crowd in the room, feeling like you won, and then go home and see everybody say that you got 30? It's very rare for that to happen with a crowd, but in this Caffeine era, I think it's really kind of exposing some people. Like, it's really like making people question whether or not their material is connecting with the audience. They don't know until the votes get read or until, like, you know what I mean? Because they're so maybe biased is the right word. Biased toward their own material and biased to their own, you know, as soon as you get all 3 rounds out, you feel like you have a chance at winning. And then just to hear that you lost every, you know, I think I beat Shine every round by 4,000 to 5,000 votes.
Oh my God! Yeah.
He didn't choke. He didn't stumble. He didn't, like you said, he was a good Shine. He was good enough for him to feel like when he got off stage that he won the battle. We had a bet. We made a bet before the face-off. He said loser buys drinks after the event. Said, okay, cool. Bet. Shook hands, whatever. I don't know if this is, I'm sure it's not in the finished version of the battle, but when we, you know, dapped up after the battle, he said, "You know, you got to buy me a drink." I said, not so sure.
Wow.
Not so sure. So yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was, I don't think it was, you know, I think a lot of people felt like it was entirely a front what K-Shine was doing, you know, thinking that he won the battle. I don't think it was in that moment. He genuinely felt like in that moment that he had won the battle pretty clearly.
That's really interesting, man. That's really interesting.
And it's just different. It's just battling on Caffeine and not knowing until you're told how the people watching at home felt about your performance. I think it's tough for a lot of guys to deal with.
It's a whole different way of writing. Like, so there's this narrative going around, and I know you don't agree with it, but like, you know how you said it's exposing some people, and but there's a narrative going around, like, you know, the guys, the big stage performers, it's showing that they don't really have talent, and clearly that's not a thing. It's just it's just totally different because when you write for the crowd, there's obviously a talent in that. You know, you have to write certain ways, certain timing, and timing is like one of the biggest things, and like everything out, like, you know, and stuff like that. But so you have to write totally different, and it's a whole different talent in its own. I don't agree with that narrative going around. I just think it's two totally different things. That's all. I don't think one is harder than the other, or one is whatever. I just think it's it's just totally different.
It's different. Yeah, and it's two different talents, bro. Like you said, like obviously, you know, when you've got a crowd that you can in the moment, in real time, gauge how much they are enjoying you. It's a much different thing. You can say a line and know by how big the reaction is, how small the reaction is, whether they reacted at all, whether they booed you, whether they stay silent. You can totally tell how you're doing in the battle at that moment. On Caffeine, you know, you're like you said, you literally are changing the way that you write, because you're trying to literally connect with an audience that you have no visual of.
Right.
You have no visual of. Imagine being a stand-up comedian and telling a joke,
right,
and not knowing if anybody is laughing.
Wow.
And then you're doing it for 9 minutes, Pat.
Yeah.
3 rounds, 3 minutes, and you don't know if you got a fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Until you get off stage and you're like, man, you did great, or you bombed it up there, kid. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times you have no idea until you step off stage. So you're right. It's definitely two different talents, and you know, I also don't like that narrative because, like I said, you know, being able to do one is not indicative of more talent of being able to do the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd like to apologize, and I'm not apologize, but I know that you probably, you know, as a peer and whatnot, when I battle Keyshawn, you probably, you know, disappointed, and it wasn't really the it wasn't so much the environment, it was just me, my lack of preparation and whatnot and whatnot, because I know that you do respect me as a battler.
Absolutely.
So some of that you respect a lot. Watching that, you probably just like, what the fuck, bro? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's different for me, Pat, because you know, obviously, I'm a fan of your work and a fan of what you do. If I see a performance like that, my reaction to it isn't like, oh man, like what happened, Pat? My reaction as a man, as a, you know, somebody I consider a friend, my reaction would be more, is everything okay? For me, it was obvious that Pat's probably going through something. That's all I said in my head. Pat's probably got a lot on his plate. You know, I knew from a conversation we had prior what coming for the battle was going to mean, as far as having to quarantine when you got home, and kind of like the whole everything that doing this battle, you know, came with. You know, so I kind of could tell that your mind was in different places. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would be different if I felt like you just didn't take it seriously because you didn't appreciate the magnitude of the battle. Like, that's one thing. And we see that from other battlers in the culture a lot. So that's one thing. But that's not your MO, and that's not what you do. So after 15 years, you're due for one of those. That's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I wouldn't expect to see that Pat again, though. You know what I'm saying?
No,
that's one time where I would say he, you know, it was an off night. It was probably something else going on.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a habit. You know what I'm saying? And I know that from knowing you. So.
Yeah, and you won't. You said in an interview a couple of years ago when you were the champ, you said, this was years ago, so, you know, whatever, a couple of years ago, whatever it is, but you were like, they said, who would you want to battle? You said, Pat. I think Pat is the best alive right now. And I want you to know that I probably watched that 100 times and even listened to it. Like, it really meant something to me. You know what I mean? It means something. The people who you know, like we hear it all the time. We goat emojis and blah, 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 blah. But when it's someone that you respect so much, you're like, oh, shit, man. Like I watched a Ruin Your Day with Thesaurus and Immaculate watching one of my battles and just praising my shit so much. And I have watched that more than any of my battles, all of them combined. I've watched it hundreds of times, man, because when you respect someone, because you don't know really how much, you're like, oh shit, I had no idea that they thought that highly of me. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was huge to me. And especially because you're not really put in this box, but you're like a punchline rapper, a writer's writer, a schemer, and people say that really, you know, I'm not, because that's not really my focus or whatever. So even the fact that you'd be like, that you would hold me to that regard, because you know a lot of punchers, I don't like to even call it that. It's just whatever, right?
Yeah.
They won't look at like, you know, the, I guess, performers or whatever as threats or even like that high. So it just showed me how dynamic, how like, how not narrow-minded you are, and how much you understand this battle rap shit.
You know what it is for me also, Pat, is I have a huge appreciation for the battlers that I feel like have a different skill set than me. And I think that much is different, because I think a lot of people who, like you said, might be punchers or schemers or have that kind of heavy writing style, you know, would prefer other battlers with that type of style and that type of influence. But what you're able to do is so natural, and on top of that, it you can't teach it. I can teach what I do. I can teach a class of how to put a scheme together or punches together. It may not be put together the way I do it, but
you could teach an alien, maybe. Go on.
But yeah, man, no, your skill set is just different. You have certain weapons on your Swiss Army knife that I don't have, and I appreciate that in watching it and seeing it. And I'm gonna tell you something also. Probably one of the scariest moments I've had. There's moments that I've had with certain battlers where I've said, "Ooh, I wouldn't want to stand in front of that." There's only been like a few moments. I've had one of those moments with Twerk. I've had one of those moments with Daylight, a long time ago. And I had one with you, and it was your first round for Sharon. Being in the building, watching that in the moment, I said, this is the scariest shit I've ever seen. And it was such a masterful combination of humor, wittiness, stage presence, just like the way you imposed your will in that moment. Like it was you know, crazy for me to see, only my third or fourth year in this culture, and I was like, there's nobody like that. Like there are tons of talented battlers. There's nobody else doing what this guy is doing. Easily one of my favorite performances that I've ever seen live was you versus Sharon. Crazy.
Thank you. That means the world, man. Even this interview, I'll watch this segment back 30 times, man. It really means a lot to me, man. In that round, it's kind of like your matrix scheme, in a way, as far as sacrifice. My first like 12 bars or so, there was nothing hitting. And I remember telling my boy, I'm like, man, I'm going to take it out. He's like, don't, man, don't. I'm like, that's too much of a risk. It's a title match, and there's no hitting. And he's like, no, don't. But it was just like a certain, you know, the whole, from the cracks of the line amongst you, you know, I forget what let me reiterate all that shit. It went on for like 12 to 16 bars.
Yeah.
And but there was no punch. But it was like it was poetic, and it was well thought out, and that's what I kind of seen from the Morpheus thing, because it's not that similar or whatever, but as far as being like, okay, well, these might not get reactions on the spot, but
But you'll appreciate it when you can.
Because it's an art. It's more than like, all right, this is safe to do. I'm gonna punch here because it's safe. Punch here, safe, or at least joke or whatever. Just something there because it's safe. Land. But you're like, I'm gonna take out this during a title match. I'm gonna take this time during my match with K Shine, my opportunity of a lifetime. I don't.
Right.
I know, right? Like,
yeah,
it's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, and the fact that I salute it, man.
Yeah.
Chilla, man, I didn't come on. I didn't want to come on here and I don't come on here to ask like top 5 dead or alive. I wanted to great conversation with you, pick your brain, and I'm not gonna keep you, man. I'm gonna let you go. It was an awesome conversation. I learned a lot. And I'm very, very, very proud of you, man. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for having me. You know, I know we've been trying to do this for a little while, and you know, I think the timing worked out beautifully. Yeah, man. Thank you so much, bro.
I don't want to cut you off. In that interview years ago, when you said you wanted to battle me, I wouldn't battle you in this setting, but you want me to tell you why?
What's that?
Because I'm not a fucking idiot. That's why.
Fair enough, man. I'm not mad at you.
Much love, Chilla Jones, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It means a lot, brother. Have a great night, man.
Always, bro. You too, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, dude. The man. Legend. Peace, y'all.